So the title of today's video was Don't Turn Your Shoulders. Now that may be a little bit misleading for some, but what I'm getting at here is there's other components to make a good golf swing. Right, that is me done. I'm out of here. I can't hit it better than that. I better exit. Today, as I said, we're going to be focusing on the backswing and really with the big stick, the driver. And my title might have been a little bit misleading about don't turn in your backswing. But I get a lot of golfers misunderstand turning. And they turn, but they turn too flat. So their shoulders are working on too much of your horizontal axis. So my point here is that when we do turn or rotate, we've got to make sure we stay inclined to the ground. So we've got to make sure that we actually tilt as well as turn. So my lead side is moving down, my trail side is moving up. What I see as a fault for so many golfers who turn their shoulders too flat early in the backswing is that club tends to move a long way behind them. And they get really stuck from that position. So from here, they've almost completed their shoulder turn, they're 90 degrees, and they've only got the club halfway. And then they try and rush and put a lot of lower body into it, or they're going to lift their arms and probably come over the top. So we see this changing swing plane. We really want that club to work on this nice angle around our body. We're not swinging on a vertical line. We're definitely not swinging on a flat horizontal. We're swinging, let's call it around that 45 degrees. It may not be, but we're getting that club moving on that arc around my body, and we're really looking to keep it on that arc. As a fault, if that player gets that club behind their body, gets their shoulders turning too horizontally, look at my head position. We start to see when the shoulders turn too flat horizontal, we tend to see a big movement off the golf ball. And because they're not staying centered, they again struggle to find the club back to the golf ball. There are and have been some good golfers with more movement off the golf ball, but they're repeating that movement time and time again. We're talking about simplifying the golf swing, right? So we would like to, I don't mind a little bit, but we'd like to stay relatively centered as we turn and tilt in our backswing. So the first exercise we're going to do is I'm going to grab two things. I've got an alignment stick and just a marker. I'm going to use one of my T-pegs here. The alignment stick is going to go in between my feet, slightly behind the golf ball. And the marker, the T-peg, is going to go about 3 feet past the golf ball, but in line with my alignment stick. Work on your backswing, and I really want you to try and get the grip end of the golf club that is now currently pointing at the target. I want that to actually get pointing at that blue T-peg that is 3 feet past my golf ball. But I'm also multitasking here. I'm getting in line with this white tour stick. So I'm creating a full 90 degrees of rotation. I can also use this alignment stick to keep my head relatively centered over, so I'm not moving excessively off the golf ball. Turning on that tilted axis. And you can see that looks very different to this type of movement, where my shoulders are very flat horizontal, this club points way outside the T-peg line, and from the face-on angle, you would tend to see quite an excessive movement off the golf ball. But something on the range is I'm going to do a freezer. I'm going to stop at the top. Now, this is harder with a driver, I feel, but I'm actually going to try and incorporate that turn and tilt. And I'm going to freeze at the top, then I'm going to hit. And my focus point to make sure that I am staying inclined to the ground is I'm going to focus on my lead shoulder moving down and in front of me. Now, you may prefer focusing on your trail shoulder moving up and behind you, okay? So as the lead side moves down, the trail side moves up. Okay, I'm pretty happy with that. In fact, I'm going to change that. I'm very happy with that. It might slightly run out of fairway. They're my first two parts I really wanted to touch. Effectively turning around our spine rather than moving up and out of the golf shot, which causes the second part, this excessive movement that we tend to get. Some golfers get that movement because they misunderstand shifting your weight. I'd prefer you to think of shifting your pressure. Now, pressure is how much force you're applying to the ground through your feet, whereas weight would tend to be thought of moving your mass, moving your whole body. So as I coil up here, my head doesn't move much, yet I can feel pressure is being applied through my trail foot into the ground. And I want to share with you, before we finish up, just a couple of within rule cheats that are really going to help your driver swing, help you create that good backswing that we're looking for. And they're not complicated, very, very simple stuff. So I just want to touch on, we've got to let a couple other things happen. We've got to free up our body as well to create this big coil in our backswing. So a couple of things we can do, and this is one of those actually within rule cheats, is flare our feet out. Definitely our lead foot towards the target by a good 35 degrees, because that really helps my body rotate this way towards the target. But if we're struggling with rotation on the backswing, maybe you're a senior golfer, maybe you're losing some flex or lost some flexibility, some mobility, possibly even just injury, right? By flaring that trail foot out a little bit, it's really going to allow my body to start to rotate. So to create this full 90 degrees of shoulder turn here on this tilted axis, I've got to allow my lower body to be evolved. So what you will see here quite clearly is not only is my trail shoulder going up and behind me, but my hip is as well. So my lower half is starting to rotate again on this tilted axis, okay? So lead side moving down in front of me, trail side up and behind me. And that really helps me make this big movement. When I find golfers lock too much with their lower body, guess again what they do with their upper half. We tend to see this real disconnect. See some of those golfers before? They don't really use their lower half, and they just try and move the mass of the club as far away from the target as possible. That's a very difficult position to get that club back to the golf ball. So we've got to allow this to start to happen, this rotational movement that we're really looking for, okay? Another within rule cheat. I said I was going to leave them to the end. I've given them to you too early here. Another within rule cheat is, as we are trying to make this backswing, especially again if you're lacking some flexibility, allow your head to tilt a little bit, okay? And I have talked about this before, but if I allow the feeling of my tilting movement as if my lead ear is moving a little bit more down to the ground, my head is moving in this direction, it will help me make a bigger coil in my backswing, and that's what I'm really looking for. If I tilted my head the other way, it's actually going to restrict backswing. So tilting it this way can help me make this bigger turn on this tilted axis, that key point again that I keep coming back to. So let's try and piece some of that together. I'm going to do a couple of simple things here. So I'm going to set up, then I'm going to make sure my feet are flared out. When I'm setting up here, if we're trying to make a bigger coil, I could just start with my head a little bit tilted, almost feeling like my lead ear moves down towards the ground. That can help. Now, another thing you could do if you're lacking mobility, flexibility, you could even drop this trail foot, the one that's furthest away from the target, back slightly. And that's really going to, again, open up this hip. By opening up this hip, I can turn more with my shoulders, remembering that we've got to, as we turn, stay inclined towards the ground. So making sure that we tilt here. So let's give it a go, right? Let's do everything. Let's have our feet, let's flare them out. I've dropped that trail foot back slightly. I'm going to tilt my head to the target. Real simple setup changes, nothing technical. Yeah, that felt good. That felt solid. And that's definitely got the right shape for this particular hole that I've plunked myself on here at Pebble Beach. Nearly hit the line. Now, I can't hit 3 drives much better than that, so I feel like I should definitely finish. I don't want to risk it. If you're not new to my channel, you'll see I hit plenty of bad shots, right? Who doesn't? Let's not try and cover them up, but I'm going to make sure I finish there having hit some good ones. Some simple tips. Maybe just try those setup changes to help you turn or coil better in your backswing, and stop thinking about it as this movement and start thinking about it as this movement in the backswing. So that lead side moving down in front of me, that trail side up and behind me. I love that exercise, this workstation I've set up here. And I also like then starting with hitting some shots where I pause at the top of the golf swing. Give it a go. I know it's going to improve your driver swing. Make sure you drop some comments below. Let me know how you get on with it. If you're not new to my channel and you haven't already subscribed, what are you waiting for? Click the button, hit the little bell icon. It just notifies you every time a new video goes live, just like this one. And right now, YouTube is suggesting the next video of mine that's relevant to you. It's just here, so click on it and check it out.